been ready. We've been ready. John Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut. Come over the bridge, go through one satellite, start looking left. Or in Bill Holloman's case, start driving in circles.
Yeah, well, you have to park on the street.
You're not the first.
I didn't know that.
That's okay. I know. I should have told you. The mean streets of Portland. Like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. I want to have 8 million subscribers. I want to see what happens. What happens?
It could happen.
I guess it could. I'd like to break a couple hundred, but that's fine. That's fine. Bill Holloman is here.
Hello, John.
Hi. I've known you for a long time.
Long time.
How do I explain? Bill's been around forever. I've done gigs where you've been the horn player, you've been the bass player, you've been the keyboard player. How does that all happen?
I owned all the instruments. They were in the car.
they were in the car when I bought it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Good thing there wasn't bagpipes in the car. I wouldn't know you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it had a harmonica in it too, but I tossed it out the window.
Can you play harmonica?
Not really.
Oh, really?
No, I can't really.
Wow.
I mean, I could do Bob
course.
Dylan on it, but other than that.
Of course. All right. So I've known you forever. I was trying to explain this to my wife at a gig. So you play reed and brass. Mm-hmm. That's crazy, right?
Well, it's unusual. It's
unusual.
Sure. Yeah.
How many?
There's a few guys that do it, but it's pretty unusual.
A few.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not a lot.
No, it's not, and there aren't that I know of too many that do it well.
Crazy.
I mean, if you want to say it that way.
Yeah. That's crazy. So what did you start on? We'll just start there.
Well, I started on the saxophone, but before that, I started on the little tonette, the little flutophones that you got in the fourth grade.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of tooting along with everybody else, and all of a sudden I sort of realized that I was getting good on the thing.
Hey.
And I wasn't planning on it. My family wasn't musical in any way, so nobody was, including me, was even thinking about that.
Where'd you grow up?
Middletown, Ohio.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Not across the river from
right. I was just going to say
the one in Ohio. Yeah,
it's got to be Middletown in every.
There is, and it's a small city. It sounds kind of romantic to say it's a small town, but it's a city of about 50,000. It was a mill town, kind of sadly run down now, but a great place, a Leave It to Beaver kind of place to grow up. And so anyway, at the end of the year, this is fourth grade.
Yep.
They bring out the table of instruments and they say, "What instrument do you want to play?"
Hey.
The kid across the street.
You're like all of them.
Well, yeah, eventually. the kid across the street from me who was older played the tenor saxophone, and I used to hear him playing it.
Okay.
So I went, I want to play that.
Sure.
So that's kind of how it started.
Wow.
And I kind of got lucky because even though they had class lessons in the school, I was the only sax player, but the student teacher that first year was a saxophone major at Miami. So I actually had private lessons for free, which was good because we didn't have any money in those days.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's cool.
So I started playing sax, and then we moved a couple times. And a buddy of mine, I guess we were in Portage, Michigan by this time, played the baritone horn.
Oh, okay.
And he used to have it at the house, and I would just start playing it, and I liked it. And he goes, "Well, my grandfather's old cornet's in the closet. Do you want to take it home?" I said, "Sure."
So that's no valves.
What's that?
Cornet?
No, a cornet has valves. It's just a smaller version of a trumpet.
Okay.
And it's so I took it home and kind of taught myself how to play it. And so I started playing that in the 8th grade. So people kind of go, "How did you do all this?" And, well, I started them all early before anyone told me that you weren't supposed to do that. Because later on they would go, "You can't do that." I was already doing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess that's the key.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
And I liked it, and I liked to practice and stuff, unlike now.
Yeah, right.
And so, I used to play along with like Glenn Miller records and John Philip Sousa's record on the trumpet. That is.
So you went off the music quick and onto ear
with other instruments. With the saxophone, I'm still reading and playing in the school band and everything.
Okay.
And with the trumpet, I played off of music, but I also was playing a lot by ear. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Is it embouchure? Is it different? How different is it?
It's completely different, really, because with reed instruments, you have the sound comes from the reed, which is kind of below, and it's hitting your lip down here. With brass instruments, the sound is coming all from your lips, so it's kind of both.
Yeah,
and you're really kind of buzzing into a trumpet, into brass instruments, whereas a reed instrument, you're just plain blowing.
Yeah. Huh.
So,
why do people not? Well, I guess there's why. Why do people not play both?
I think part of it is from my little joke from before. I think they're sort of told you can't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, you're a reed player. You're going to play. If you're really a pro, you're going to play the flute and the clarinet and those killer Broadway guys that play oboe and bassoon too.
Wow.
But they kind of, I don't know if they're discouraged, but no one's encouraged to play brass and reeds. Huh. And I get so many people like yourself that go, how do you do that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been doing it my whole life.
Yeah, right. You know? Wow. Well, that's an answer.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's kind of crazy.
So, and it's, as I say, I kind of taught myself how to play the brass. And, you know, sometimes that comes back to haunt me a little bit. There's things I wish I could do better.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
But, you know, that ship has sailed.
Yeah, right. So do you, in your mind, consider yourself one or the other?
No.
Wow.
No, and sometimes, you know, people used to ask me, what do you like to play better? And sometimes it goes back and forth. Sometimes I like playing the sax better. Sometimes I like playing the bass better. I don't play bass very much anymore, sadly, but I did for a long time. And I love playing bass in bands.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's the trumpet.
Wow.
You know, and it was that way even when I was a kid. You know, sometimes I was into one or the other.
That's crazy.
I considered changing to being a trumpet player in high school.
Yeah, right.
But gladly I didn't do that because it worked out better.
So you were the sax star at school.
Yes, but I also played, because of the fact that the three of the first chair trumpet players in the band were on the football team. During the games, I played lead trumpet and conducted the band with my other hand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because the band director, God rest his soul now, was the principal oboist of the Springfield Symphony and was really not into jazz or the marching. Well, we didn't have a marching band, but the band thing. So he would miss games, and I would kind of lead the band like this with trumpet in one hand and leading the band. Yeah.
Wow.
Which I liked. And then when I went to college, I played first trumpet in the marching band in college.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's crazy.
Huh. Which is something I really wanted. I practiced all summer. I really wanted to do that.
Yeah. You'd be the trumpet player. That's crazy. Trombone.
Yeah, that kind of came later because, pardon me.
Yeah.
I was afraid to play the trombone because I thought it would mess up my trumpet playing.
Okay, why?
Because it's such a much bigger mouthpiece.
Okay.
Turns out that really isn't true because the small mouthpiece kind of hits here and the bow mouthpiece kind of hits here, and you can do both.
Oh,
there are a lot of guys do that.
Okay.
The brass guys do.
I see.
So it kind of the weaker sister, and then when I started playing with the Fab Four, I started subbing for Bones Malone, if you ever seen the Blues Brothers or whatever, you know. So his chair was a lot of trombone. It also has trumpet, sax, flute, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, so he does that too.
He doesn't do it anymore, but I ended up getting the position. But
no, but I mean, he plays all that.
Oh yeah,
too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's one of the ones I'm talking about. There aren't very many. And anyway, I'm standing here with Willie and Jimmy Vivino, like some of the greatest musicians on the earth, and I'm holding this trombone, going, "What the beep am I doing with this?" You know. Yeah. So I kind of dedicated myself to trying to get better. Now I don't have time to be great on it, but what I do, as you know, is I bring it on gigs, and that's how you really improve.
Cool. I got it. So you're just like, I'm just gonna.
Yeah. So I went from being a full hack to a partial hack. I can get away with it now.
Wow. But would you take a call as a trombone player?
No, I'll do trombone sessions and stuff at my house when I have control over it.
Sure.
And I bring it to other sessions, but But no, I wouldn't. No,
that's crazy.
No, I'm not good enough to do.
You're like because I've done things with you. You're like the one man horn section,
right? Wow. And I do a lot to my studio at home and in other studios as well.
That's amazing.
I did that for Nile Rodgers for 20 years.
All right, so let's get a career, some kind of career chronology going.
You call this a career?
Well, or something, an event chronology.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't call this a career.
Yeah,
that's for sure. So high school, college.
Yes.
Still in Ohio.
Well, actually, we moved a couple of times. After I was in Michigan for a couple of years, we moved to Longmeadow, Massachusetts, and that's where I went to high school.
Okay.
Yeah, no, if I had gone to the high school in the Midwest, we would have had a marching band.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
This was Longmeadow High, and but when school that was over, I wanted to go. Again, to talk about marching bands, I wanted to go to a school that had a football team and a band and sort of a college experience. I didn't want to go to Berkeley or Eastman, where it would just be all musicians all the time.
Just because
I wanted the college thing.
Yeah.
Now, it turned out, I thought I was going to join a frat and all that kind of stuff. I didn't have time. I joined a band, and you didn't have time to be in a fraternity. Right. But I still loved it, and so I went. I actually went early to audition for the marching band, and then they had the band camp. You go away for a week and the whole thing, and. But all of that was really fun. So I did that. Was a saxophone major. and at a school that's primary at University of Cincinnati, CCM, College Conservatory of Music, which is a well-known sort of second tier. It's not quite Eastman or Juilliard, but it's a very fairly prestigious, well-known school.
For sax?
No, that's what I'm getting to.
Okay.
It's more music theater and classical.
Okay.
Cincinnati happens to have a great symphony orchestra for the size of its town.
I see.
So a lot of that, the emphasis was on that kind of stuff. The jazz part, which I ended up kind of being in, was very small. I mean, we only had, really one or two at the most at the time, good enough drummers to play in the jazz band.
Sure.
The jazz band director was actually a great trumpet player who had been on Woody Herman's band for a little while. Hey. Kind of a crustier old guy. He and I didn't always see eye to eye because I was a rock and roll guy.
Oh yeah.
We didn't fight or anything, but
it
was interesting. It was that part of it was good.
Would have made a good movie.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, he ended up.
Oh no.
He ended up buying a bar.
Okay.
Outside of Cincinnati and got stabbed in front of it. Got killed. This was after I had left.
Whoops.
But yeah, so Cincinnati for 4 years. Then I came out here for a little bit, and then went back to Cincinnati for about a year and played with my old band. We thought we had some stuff going, and you never know. There was I can listen to some of it now and go, hey, this was actually a good band.
And this would have been about what year?
1979.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So 79, and then in 1980, I got the call to come audition for the B. Willie Smith band.
Oh wow. Okay.
Which was a band out here that I knew of because of my great friend Gary Stevens, who was playing with 8 to the Bar.
Sure. After
he and I had played in this band Forest briefly, I was in the band briefly.
Okay.
And of course, I'm forgetting what I'm going to say.
Right.
Anyway, he had told me about the band, so I knew who about them. And they called up in my apartment. Somehow they got my number in Cincinnati and said, "You want to come out?" And I came out and auditioned for the band. And the guy that I replaced was a really good blues singer and guitar player who had taught himself enough saxophone to get by, but really wasn't, he'll tell you himself, not a very good sax player.
Yeah.
And the piano player had taught himself enough alto sax to play. So they had a little section, but neither of them were saxophone players.
Yeah.
So when I started to play, they all went, oh.
We can go in a whole other
direction. This is a guy who actually plays the sax. Now, I didn't know enough about what they were doing, you know, in terms of the way, like they kind of wanted me to play a certain way, and they would play these old records of these honking guys that is my favorite thing now. But at the time, I'm listening to Coltrane and stuff, and I'm going, why would I want to play like that?
Yeah.
So I didn't get it at first, and I only actually stayed in the band for a year, but then they begged me to come back, and I did 2 more years.
So you relocated?
I relocated to New Haven.
Wow.
Yep.
B. Willie Smith.
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah, well, by that time I knew that the band in Cincinnati wasn't going to make it,
sure.
And I wanted, plus B. Willie was playing, we were playing like 3 nights a month or something, and B. Willie was playing 5 and 6 nights a week, and that's what I thought I wanted to do at the time.
Sure.
They offered me a salary, a small one, but it was a salary. It was my first real job,
Sure.
if you will. And of course I knew 8 to the Bar because Gary was in it, and the original time when I was in B. Willie, they did not play Friday nights. The guitar player was a member of the Worldwide Church of God. His mom had passed away, and very sadly, and he found that religion, and they kind of observed the Jewish holidays in terms of the calendar.
Gotcha.
So the band couldn't play on Friday nights because he was the main guy in the band. He wasn't the singer, but I mean, instrumentally, he's still a great guitar player. I mean, really good guitar player. So on Friday nights, I would go see 8 to the Bar and sit in with them.
Oh, wow.
And I had already played. I skipped a part of the story.
With all the sinners.
Yeah.
Everybody. Yeah.
I'll try to keep this brief, but the other part of the story is before I joined B. Willie, the reason they found me is because I came out for 2 weeks and subbed with 8 to the Bar when Paul Niagara was in the hospital.
Oh, okay.
Gary brought me out because Cynthia didn't know any other sax players.
Right.
So
you were on the scene.
And a guy named Danny Cahill, who used to run this place called The Wreck, and then later he worked at Yellow Kittens at Block Island.
Okay.
He saw me with them and told the B. Willie guys about
You got to get this guy. Yeah.
And they didn't want anybody to know that the guy was leaving because the guy I replaced was the original band leader and the guy that used to hang from the pipes and stuff. Like he did this whole circus show with the sax that people loved.
Sure.
And they didn't want to put it on the Advocate as we used to do in those days.
Right.
So they asked around, and that's how they found me.
Hey.
So meanwhile, finally Paul Niagara goes to leave 8 to the Bar, and they asked me if I want to do it.
Yeah.
And I understood their music a little better than I did B. Willie's.
B. Willie. Okay.
And I knew I would kind of sing more and get to play. With B. Willie, it was a real straight R&B and blues things. So that, like if I had 2 choruses, that was a lot.
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
sax.
yeah.
With 8 to the Bar, they would stretch these things out. You remember,
Yeah. Yeah, and you could sing a lot.
Yeah, well, then I started singing a lot, which I didn't do that's very much in Willie.
Okay.
And
did you always want to be a singer? When did that happen?
I don't know. That's a good question.
It was just
as I mentioned, my father was tone deaf, and my mother was pretty much right behind it. So
wow.
We used to sort of sing in the car a little bit when we were kids, but it was probably pretty awful.
Yeah, yeah.
And then,
wow.
So I don't know exactly. I'm trying to remember. I think it's when I heard Pete Cetera.
Wow.
And Burton Cummings from the Guess Who were my 2 favorite early singers. That'd be about 7th or 8th grade.
Okay.
When I heard them, I could imitate Pete Cetera really well.
Wow.
I think that's what kind of started.
Okay.
Too high for me now, but
yeah, right. So you're like
in those days, it was.
So you were ready to sing.
Yeah, and I was sitting at the piano. I'd sit at the piano and sing songs.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Because
cool.
we'd had a in a rental house when we lived in Kalamazoo. It had a player piano with the player piano guts taken out, and that's when I started teaching myself how to play piano there.
Wow.
And then we got one after that because I was playing it.
So you just up in everything, anything.
Yeah, I mean, it was there, and the piano felt very natural to me. I mean, again, I took very few lessons. I can't play. Kind of like Joe, neither one of us can read the real piano
is that
music
right?
very well. Like, if you put that in front of me with the 2 staffs and everything, forget it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you put a lead sheet in front of me, I'll go all day. But,
Sure. Well,
but I just never did. In fact, when I was in college, they put me in beginner piano because I couldn't read that.
Yeah, right.
And the TA that was teaching it came to a gig with my band when I was playing keyboard all night. She goes, "Why are you in beginner piano?"
Right.
I said, "Because I couldn't read the 2 staffs." She goes,
sure.
"Oh."
Right. Yeah. And then here you are working.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Playing keyboards, my Fender
the
Rhodes.
world's colliding, I guess.
So
wow.
So that's how I got to 8 to the Bar anyway.
So you quit beginner piano. Did you ever pass?
No, I had to play. I had to.
Good.
You had to. It was like a requirement. You had to.
Yeah. All right, that's cool.
And then there would be one day where they go, "Okay, we're going to improvise today,"
and you're
and then the kids all hated me because I'm like, like this. It was pretty funny actually.
It's wild.
Yeah.
When did bass happen? Did we get to bass yet?
Yes, bass happened in high school.
Wow.
We had myself and originally a girl and another great friend of mine, Scott Hamilton. We were doing a little Crosby, Stills and Nash kind of trio thing.
Okay.
And I was playing guitar badly. And I was kind of trying to play the Stephen Stills leads, but I couldn't play. I still don't play chords with a crap on guitar.
Sure.
But I'd figured out, we need a bass.
Yeah.
So I went over to the corner, and this was in the band room at the school, and got the upright bass. Forget that.
Yeah.
To get a note, it's like starting a chainsaw. So I went and found a $35 used homemade bass.
Wow.
And started playing that. And then I got really into that for a little while.
Wow.
Like I remember taking it on the family vacation and just
playing
bass all the time.
Wow.
So that's when that was happening.
That's so funny.
And that went into college as well.
Wow.
So
you're ready just for anything.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I remember I used to get. I feel like I'm talking too much. Am I?
No.
Okay.
What else are you?
Well, I was going to say just briefly. I used to laugh that sometimes this happened often with guitar players. They'd go, "Did you go to music school?" And I would go, "Yeah." And they go, "Oh, no wonder you play all these instruments." It's like, well, actually, I was playing them all when I got there.
Yeah. That's interesting.
But
yeah. Wow.
I definitely had some good experiences going to music school that you don't get if you don't.
So you're glad?
Yeah, I am, and I actually graduated and
that's
got a
cool.
degree and everything. And I got to be halfway through junior, a little longer. I'm like, I might as well finish this. And
Yeah.
I had the chance to go on the road with like Wayne Cochran and the CC Riders, and I turned it down. I said, you know what? I'm so close. I might as well get a degree. Now, it never meant anything. I shouldn't say that, but
that was my next question.
No, I mean, not really. It feels good to have a college degree, but in terms of my profession, I actually never had the piece of paper until I turned 50. My wife called up because I didn't walk.
Oh,
and
wow.
They lost it, and they were going to charge me $35, and I didn't have $35 at the time.
Whoa.
So she beautifully contacted the school and got me a diploma, framed for my 50th birthday, and it's down in my studio now. And
that's cool.
It is cool, but that just kind of shows you I never needed it for anything.
Would you feel like, what would your career path have been with that? Was there a path?
No. I mean, I don't think so.
Not for you?
No, I mean, I think
So you took the path you were supposed to take.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, a lot of kids at the school, of course, were in music education.
Okay.
Or they were symphony players. And of course, there you go and you
Right.
audition and you get a job and all that kind of stuff. For me, it was sort of like, I want to be a rock star,
Yeah.
kind of,
Sure.
But in a band, I never wanted to be like, I don't know, you name somebody,
Yeah.
whoever,
Yeah.
a solo. I wanted my band to make it.
Yeah.
And
Do you still want your band to make it?
no,
Okay.
no, it's way too late for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. In your mind.
But I mean, I wouldn't mind writing a hit song for somebody or something
Sure.
like that and making some money, but
Yeah,
I
why
don't
not?
care about being a star anymore.
Yeah.
And but that was sort of, it's in your mind. So you're joining this band, and you're
Yep.
in this band, and
Yep.
you're in B. Willie. I'm in. I'm like, these guys are great locally, but they're not going to make it. They don't have music. Then I'm in A to the Bar. Same thing, really.
Yeah.
We just didn't have the original material. That's when I started the Cartels.
Oh. Okay. Okay. So you were in 8 to the Bar. How long?
3 years.
Oh wow. That's it.
Yeah,
Whoa.
I know.
Wow.
It seemed longer.
You left
No,
your. Wow.
not really. I enjoyed it. But, when you're in your late 20s, if you spend 3 years with one band and then 3 with the other, and you're playing the same rooms, really,
Sure.
traipsing up and down the East Coast, and you're not making any money.
Right.
And I got to the point where I'm sort of like, I got to do something different here.
Yeah.
That's when I went to Gary. We had lunch at a Chinese restaurant in Norfolk, Virginia, and I said to him, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
said, well, I'm starting to look at real estate, whatever he said. And I said, you know what we need to do? We need to work less and make more money.
Yeah. Right.
And he says, yeah. And that's what we did. We pulled
Yeah, I
it off.
gotcha.
When we started the Cartels, we were, for our age and what we're used to making, we were making money hand over fist.
Wow.
You
Okay.
know, and all the agents wanted to book us, and
How did you? So all right. So who original Cartels is who?
it's myself, Gary, Karen, and Joe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, at the time, Gary, Karen, and I were all in 8 to the Bar.
Right. Right.
And Karen and I lived together at the time as well.
Okay.
So, it was going to be the three of us for sure.
Yep.
Then I figured out that if we did it that way, I'd have to play keyboard and left-hand bass all night. And not only would that probably not be great,
Yeah.
but people that knew me would want to see me play horn.
Sure, sure.
So that's when I thought of Joe. I already knew Joe.
Oh, all
I'm
right.
like, let's get Joe. He's
Yeah.
a
Do
fantastic
anything.
singer, great keyboard player. I'll bet you can play left-hand bass, even though he had really never done it.
Wow.
And I played bass part of the time, so we
Yeah.
kind of switched off. And Joe played a little guitar in those days.
Oh wow. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we talked about.
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
We used to call it the guitar set. he'd,
Wow.
he'd get out in front of the band. And
Oh,
he didn't have an
man.
amp either. We'd just
What
go
would
through
it?
the
What
thing.
would it take to get him to do that?
Oh,
I
I would pay it, whatever it
Yeah,
was.
me too. We'll do a GoFundMe.
Yeah, exactly. Go fund me for Joey G to play the guitar.
Yeah,
he
the
had
triumphant
He had
return.
a Squier Telecaster. I had my Squier jazz bass. And yeah, he would front. And when that happened, I would go over and play left-hand bass and keyboard
Sure.
while he was playing guitar.
Wow,
And so we always had a little guitar set in a couple of the sets.
that's great.
His big number was the Bobby Fuller for I Fought the Law.
Sure.
I sang it, but he played.
Right.
He could play it actually, but no amp. It just went through the keyboard rig, so there was no effects pedal, no nothing. So it was just.
Yeah. We got to bring that back.
Yeah, I agree.
Wow.
And then when Tommy first started coming around, the two of them would play it together.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was
there you go.
monstrous.
Yeah, I bet. What was the secret to working more? I mean, well,
Private parties. We didn't want to play nightclubs anymore.
oh, I got
We
you.
played some.
So that's the difference. 8 to the Bar was just doing.
We played a few.
They probably
private
didn't do it on purpose. It just
No,
snowballed.
That's
and
where
then
the
you end
work
up-
is.
right, right.
We played a few weddings with 8 to the Bar and some private parties as
Yep.
well. But most all of it was clubs.
By the time I joined 8 to the Bar, they were doing a fair amount of privates. Like she made the transition
Yeah.
slowly.
Yeah.
Slowly.
Yeah, slowly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we also had the advantage, and this was not done on purpose by any means, because I loved Cynthia. I was dead.
Yeah.
But when we kind of all three left at the same time, she decided to fold the band.
Oh.
Only for a year.
Right.
She brought it right back, and
Yeah,
then you were in
sure,
not
sure.
long after that. But that
I
gave
see.
us a little chance to start, because all the agents didn't have 8 to the Bar anymore, and so they came to us.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I know, right?
We went live. You can't.
Well, you can say that.
Yeah. We could say.
They say that on the Andy Griffith. No, they probably
Yeah,
don't.
no, probably
But that just gave us a little bit of a start. And then when she
Wow.
came back, we could both coexist very easily,
Oh,
because
well,
there was
that's cool.
plenty of work. And but that's how we started. So we wanted to play weddings and private parties.
Yeah.
We played some clubs just to keep a public eye,
Sure.
and then we played some big civic events. We We did really well with
But
it.
that was the concept,
Yeah,
not to play every joint.
right, exactly.
Wow.
You know.
And
I-
you feel like you did that?
Oh yeah, there's no question we did.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mission
we
accomplished.
played colleges, and
Yep.
things like that when you still did that, when
Yep.
bands still did that.
Yeah.
But it was not uncommon at all for us to do 4 weddings in a
We
weekend.
just played at college the other night.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Saturday.
And the kids, and that's coming back. The kids went crazy, as you saw.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's another side conversation. It's all good. I'm having a hard time understanding, although it's to our benefit. Do you think that this is true? I noticed this the other night. So younger people now, they know everything. It wasn't always like that.
No.
And I don't know how they know it, but I'm glad they do, because it makes it easier for us. Because I said to Jay Wiggins, so I played sub for the Cartels the other night.
And did a fabulous job, by the way.
Oh,
John.
thank you. Hey. The Coast Guard Academy, right, out in New London.
Yep.
And I said to Jay Wiggin, I'd never done that gig. I guess it's a regular gig for you guys.
Yeah.
No offense, but I'm like looking at all these young kids, and I'm like, they're gonna hate us. And Jay goes, "Watch."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Really?" And you were like a rock star, and I'm like, they know every song
They
ever.
do. It's really
Which is
insane.
good. I don't know how they do. But they do.
I don't know either. It's funny because
I thought we were going to be old people.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, how
No.
and they they were.
No, if that was
they
the
would have hoisted. I thought they were going to hoist you.
Yeah. Well, I
you-
told the guys the next day, you couldn't see this, but the second time I went out there,
Yeah.
I was holding the high note in the section. I held my hand out like this for people to high five me, and then went all the way around, and everyone did it.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Crazy. Yeah.
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 And
If that were in a movie, I would have been. Nah, that doesn't.
That's
happen.
phony.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's stupid.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. It actually happens.
and you know what? Every class they're like that every year. It's amazing.
Yeah,
and
that's
the
cool.
beauty of that gig is it's a different group every time.
Yeah,
because they
right.
move on.
But
and,
they knew the songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
Well, I play with this other band. It's pretty much strictly a wedding band.
Yep.
And of course, the wedding bands for weddings went away badly for quite a while, as
Sure.
you know. And but they're starting to come back a little bit. But what's happening is this particular band plays for first weddings. So you've got 25-year-old kids.
Yeah.
And they are on the dance floor screaming RESPECT. And they know all. Just to your point, they know all the songs and they love them. It's almost as though they've discovered that their parents' music was more fun than theirs.
Maybe. Maybe.
At least to dance
think?
to and party to.
Yeah.
You know.
You know what I don't want to sidetrack. But I have a theory. I'm slowly developing with each guest when this comes up. When I was a kid, the way the group that you were in, as far as what kind of kid you were, it was identity. It was like you had metal kids and punk rock kids and new wave kids or whatever. And I don't think that exists now. You don't have to look like you sound. I think everything is just all the pieces are in the air. Like I've had kids, young kids that they want to learn Motorhead. And I'm like, how do you know this? Because I'm thinking, well, this would have to be a tough kid. Because when I was young, you had to be a tough guy to like metal or whatever. And now it's just kind of like, if it's good, they like it, I think.
I think that's true.
Like it's not attached to a category like it used to be.
I think that because of here's an old guy's opinion,
Well.
because of YouTube and Spotify and all that stuff, that a lot of the categories have kind of been shattered. I mean, they're hearing bits of everything.
Yeah.
And that's good. There's
Yeah,
nothing wrong
right.
with that.
Well, and it's good for us too because we're doing what we always did, but
Right.
it kind of comes back.
Well, that's
in.
just it. I'm talking about this other band. Yes, we do play just like the Cartels do. We play some modern stuff, but as we've gone along here lately, in the last even 5 years, it seems like the old stuff has really come back huge.
Hit
They
it.
play Brown Eyed Girl and they go crazy again. And I thought that was dead.
Right.
We all kind of hoped it was, but
unfortunately.
But to your point, not really, because that's the stuff we play the best.
Right. Turns out, yeah.
I mean, because that's what we grew up on and what we've been playing for the last 30 years.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's kind of good.
I think it's all good.
I mean, I saw it happen the other night. I was just like, wow, this is cool.
And it happens, like I said, on these weddings. I did 25 of them probably this year, like that. All first weddings, young kids, and they went crazy every time.
Yeah.
The new stuff too, but
Yeah.
the stuff that you would like, Sweet Caroline and Shout still kills.
I know.
The kids still go
How do
on
they
the
know
floor.
Shout? Yeah.
They go on the floor.
How do they know?
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a strange thing.
It's amazing, but again, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, it is. I don't want to. Sometimes I think about it. I mean, it's all good for us, so I shouldn't bemoan it. but I know that there are kids having fun and they're playing music and they're going to do what they do, and there's plenty of people doing it. But we learned by doing it, because you could, for that period where we were around, you could play 5 nights a week and you could learn it. So we actually kind of know what we're doing. And anyway, I kind of feel like maybe young people now, it's almost a novelty of like we're actually good because we learned it by doing, and they've never seen, like they have to have old people like us do it in order for them to go, oh, hey, this is really good. And it's like, well, I mean, you can be born good, plenty of people are, but I'm just like, yeah, we got good by kind of doing this. Mm-hmm. So there probably aren't too many people in their age group that are, it's weird.
I think you're absolutely
I feel
right.
bad because they don't have that training ground that we had.
I know. Well, I said, again.
But what do I care? We'll just keep working.
Well, that's kind of what, but, especially, as I said, it feels like bands are coming back to the live, events. But when it was really dying, I was kind of on the bandwagon of, we're the last ones. We're the dinosaurs. This is going to be it. There's nobody else that's going to work like we did, to the point that you're making. And there isn't, in terms of that, because that's never going to come back. With the internet and every other thing. When the drinking age changed from 18, that changed things a lot.
Yeah, I came right when all that, and I caught the tail end of the heyday.
And I was in it, so I remember.
Yeah, when I joined 8 to the Bar, it was always like, oh man, you just missed it. Yeah. You should have seen what I was always right after.
Yeah, and you didn't. Well, you missed it kind of.
Well, but
whatever. I know what you mean. No. It's funny, but and that I don't think that is ever coming back. There's just too many entertainment possibilities that you can do it from your house.
Sure.
In those days, besides the drinking age being lower,
it wasn't even cable TV.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a thing. It was a night out was to go see your favorite band, or maybe a new band.
Sure.
Or you got a first date. We're gonna go see. I love this band. I hope you do.
Yeah.
And it was and that's a Wednesday night at David's in Manchester.
I know. Can you imagine?
Or whatever. Where
they just figure we don't even know the band, but it'll be good because it's here.
I mean, we used to with that version of 8 to the Bar that I was in. We used to play at the Tavern on the Green in Farmington, which ironically is about 10 minutes from my house now, but it wasn't then. And on a Thursday night, we would pack that place, and the guarantee for the band was $1,000 against the door.
I know, can you imagine?
On a Thursday night.
Thursday, yeah.
And we packed it. We broke the guarantee most times.
Yeah. Imagine?
Yeah, no, I can't. I can hardly remember it.
Yeah.
And that was a Thursday. A Tuesday night, you could play the Night of the Toad when I was in B. Willie. Oh, wow. Yes, the draft beers were 25 cents. But there was a line out the door on a Tuesday night to see B. Willie Smith and get a quarter. If you could get near the bar, get a beer for a quarter.
Wow.
Those days are not coming back.
That is true. But we lived. Yeah. Some people didn't live.
Yeah.
So that's okay too.
Oh yeah, there's quite a few.
Yeah.
That I know. But you do see these snarky puppies or whatever it is.
Yeah,
there are still some kids out there that are playing their ass off, and they figured out how to do it somehow, but they're not doing it the way we did it through the bars and slogging around.
Yeah. Yeah. And who knows if that's good, bad, and different?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there is a point that you make about experience, though. You can be trained and you can really do it, but there's something about getting that beer spilled on you at 1:30 in the morning, as you're playing that, whatever it is. There's something there that won't be there anymore.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Of course, I used to walk the bar, and Karen would hold the wireless mic.
Yeah.
And I would. Can you imagine this now with all these diseases? Yeah. I would reach down and take people's beers and drink them, while I was playing.
Sure.
And then put half of it down, and they loved it. Nobody ever went, "Hey,
I drank my beer." Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, right. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing that now. I can't even drink on a gig anymore.
I know.
You probably have a flawless sleep on the way home.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy.
But there were some fun days there.
Yeah. No, I mean, even I had fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, then the version of the band that you were in was a good one, too.
I think so.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, whatever, it's not about me, but I was in, I was starting to get my thing, but yeah, I found out, put it that way. I was like, what happens if you play this much? What happens if you sing this much? Right. What happens if you actually do it and travel? You don't have to wonder. And it got a lot of things together for me.
And you were so young when you started.
I was pretty young.
I forgot how old you were.
21, 22.
21, yeah. So you were so you weren't all that much younger than when I started with B. Willie. But
yeah.
By the time I met you, you were younger than me.
Well, I still am. Sorry.
Everybody's younger than
No,
me.
that's not true. People are not.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, no, I guess, I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to wonder.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, this is what you find out.
Yeah.
Doing it. Yeah. I don't know what I would change. What would you change?
Well, it depends on when
you wouldn't have drank that one beer that one time.
No, probably not. Yeah. It depends on when you talk to me. I've said for years that if I was to change anything, I probably should have gone straight to New York from college. And didn't do that because there was a time when I thought I wanted to be in that scene. Well, now I kind of am, and I don't have to live there, and that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I know most everybody there except the Broadway guys, and I never wanted to do a Broadway show anyway.
Sure.
With no disrespect, it's just not something I wanted to do. And but that probably would have helped, because I look at some guys like Bones Malone, who's a great musician.
Yeah, yeah.
But with all modesty, maybe not so much better than me, or however you want to put it.
He had
an amazing, he was on Saturday Night Live and in the Letterman band. He made a fortune.
Wow.
And if I had been around at that time, maybe I could have done the same thing.
Yeah.
But and then if you do, how it is. If I did that, I'd never meet my wife. I don't have the kids I have. There's a whole life thing there that you can't change, and so it is what it is. But I often thought that might be the one thing I might have changed.
So when did you how did you get involved? So now you're in, Eight to the Bar and then Cartels, and then?
Well, then comes along Danny Gatton is the next thing.
Okay.
And it was interesting because right around the time when his manager called me, I was starting to think about leaving the Cartels.
Oh, wow.
Just because I figured there might be more out there, and I could do this for the rest of my life.
Sure.
Not knowing bands were going to die at weddings, but that happened 20 years later.
Yeah.
I could have done it for certainly the next 15, 20 years.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden on a Sunday morning, my phone rings, and this guy with kind of a Southern accent, it's not Danny, it's his manager, calls up and says, "Is John there?" I'm like, "There's no John here." He goes, "John Holloman?" Well, John Holloman was a reporter for CNN.
Oh, wow.
Who actually died going to get milk at a convenience store. But anyway, he says, "Yeah, I'm Danny Gatton's manager. He got your tape, and he's done nothing but talk about it. He wants to know if you want to play with him. And oh, by the way, he's about to be signed by Elektra Records."
Whoa.
I'm like, let me think. Yes.
So you had a tape.
Yeah, I got a tape to him. It's a bizarre story.
Yeah.
When B. Willie Smith was breaking up, they had a last night at Toad's. Mm-hmm. And I came back with a few other, by then I was the first non-original member of that band. Okay. But by the time they were done, there were others.
Yeah.
I can't remember who all came, but I came. There was this guy in the dressing room who was drunk, but I remembered him from the old days. He said, "Danny Gatton, when he comes up here, he asks about you." I left this part out because it didn't come up. When I was in B. Willie, we opened for Robert Gordon when Danny was playing with Robert Gordon.
Okay.
Stephen Baldino, who was the B. Willie guitarist I was talking about, who was so great, was petrified, even though Stephen was really great. Long story short, Danny heard me, and then we kind of hung out and had a Heineken afterwards.
Oh, okay.
And apparently he talked, when he come up to Hartford, which he did twice, he asked if anybody knew where I was. He remembered me from that night.
Hey, no.
It turned out that he had two brothers that alternated playing sax with him, Roger and Ralph McDuffie, and he thought I was a combination of the two of them.
Hey.
So anyway, move forward now, and this guy in the dressing room goes, "Danny again talks about you all the time when he comes up here." And I'm thinking, yeah, sure he does.
Yeah, right.
But I said, well, if that's true, I happen to have a demo tape, a cassette of set in those days on me. I said, if that's true, send this to him.
Yeah, right. It's got my number on it, finally.
It did.
Yeah,
it did. He sent it to him, and Danny, so Ellis Dunn, his manager, calls up and says, "Danny got your tape, and he's done nothing but talk about it since. And he wants to know if you want to play with him and record with him because he's going to get signed by Elektra." And I'm like, I think I could probably do that.
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah.
So it kind of timed out well. And I said I was. So while we were recording the first album, I'm coming home on weekends to do Cartels weddings.
Yeah, right.
That's the music business for you.
Yeah, sure.
But so then that went. That was an interesting time because, again, talk about not making much money. There was a lot of weekends where we played in D.C. and I would commute back and forth and making a lot of money. But I was kind of hoping for the future.
Yeah.
And then we made the second record and it wasn't so good. And then I got the chance to work with the Gatlin brothers.
Okay.
Through Shannon Ford, who was the drummer with Danny, who
had
worked with the Gatlins before that.
Okay.
They people built for them with their name a theater in Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
So because I had worked a play. Shannon first got me on. Larry was on Broadway by this time doing Will Rogers, Larry Gatlin. And he'd written his own musical, and he wanted to put together a band. And Shannon brought me in because I could play everything.
Sure.
So then I kind of talked my way into the Gatlin Brothers band in the theater because it was a job.
Yeah, why not?
After I had not made any money with Danny for those years, this was going to be like a job with a W-2. And, So it was going to be 6 months a year, and then it turned into a full-time, and my wife and I moved down there. That's where we had our first son, was down there. And then it wasn't full-time anymore, and we packed and got the out of there. But I continued to work with the Gatlins for about 5 years.
Yeah. So it just ran its course.
Yeah. I mean, they still play a little bit.
Yeah.
And I worked with Larry after that, solo shows, where I was his bass player and the music director.
So funny.
Yeah, I know. And sang with him and stuff. And he's a great guy. That was a nice gig.
Huh.
But finally, he called me up and said, I'm losing too much money flying you guys all over the country. I need some kids that can come out of Nashville. And that's what he did. But that was nice. And during that time is when I started doing stuff with Nile Rodgers.
Okay.
So,
now how'd he find you?
Well, that's an interesting one too, because his manager, kind of production manager, was a guy named Bud Tunick, who played in the Stimms Brothers band here in Connecticut and all around, and at Toad's and stuff like that. And so I kind of knew Bud. He worked at Toad's place for a while. Then he got a job as Nile's guy, and he was in New York. And Paula Solo, who was playing bass with Eight to the Bar with me at the time, invited him to come up to Lewis Street where we were playing.
Oh.
So he saw me with Eight to the Bar. And he's like, well, he said, that's great. I want you to come down and meet Nile or whatever. Hey. So I'm like, yeah. So I brought down the tapes, and, that was like the one time in my life where I actually followed up on something. I went to see Bud multiple times.
Okay.
Finally got to meet Nile, but I never got to do a session or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
And then finally Bud says to me one day, Nile bought a house in Connecticut. He's looking for some Connecticut guys to do stuff.
Perfect.
And then he got a jingle, and they called me. So I went down to Presence in Westport, and we were waiting for the drummer to show up. And we were just jamming. And of course, Bernard Edwards was there. Wow. He playing bass. And so I'm like, I'm trying not to go like this,
Yeah.
And they put me in an ISO booth, and then we're just jamming, waiting for this guy to come. And I hear Nile go, I love this guy. And he was talking about me.
Hey.
I was like, ooh,
hey,
okay.
Man.
So I ended up bringing the other horns in and do a whole section for him for this jingle. And kind of after that.
Who was the drummer? You don't remember. He was late.
I think it was Steve Hawley.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
But he was late. Yeah, he was late. He was coming up from New York, and he was late. But and then he fired me, the drummer. Then he fired Bernard Edwards.
What?
Yeah, he couldn't hear the time or something, whatever. Wow. He was having troubles. So he said, "Can you not have the horn?" Okay. And I was fine. And then he goes, "Can you not play the bass while I'm playing?" I'm like, "That's Bernard Edwards." Wow. So I said to Bernard, who I did not know, I said, "Oh, you got fired too." And he started laughing.
Wow.
And shortly thereafter, Chic actually kind of reunited this little show that I couldn't make because of Myrtle Beach. But then Japan Tobacco had Nile. They used to do this thing called super producers, where they'd have a guy that had produced a lot of hit records, but also played something. Like they had David Foster, they had Michael Walton, Narad.
Sure, Narad and Michael Walton.
Yeah. Thank you. And Nile was the third and last one because they stopped being able to advertise on TV for tobacco. But
wow.
So he put Chic back together, and I got called to do that.
Hey.
And then, of course, on the show was Slash, who I got to meet, and
cool.
I did a couple gigs with him, recorded once with him. Sweet guy. He's a really nice guy. Yeah. Super nice. Like, it's like I'm doing this, and the next thing I'm walking down the streets of Tokyo, passing a bottle of Jack back and forth with Slash. How great is that? He's just nicest guy. I had his number. I could call him up. I'm sure he's changed it by now.
Call him right now.
Yeah. Hey, Slash.
Hey, man. Yeah, have him on the podcast.
Yeah, if he was around and I called him, he probably would do it.
Imagine.
He's that nice of a guy. I mean, he doesn't, nothing like the persona he kind of
I read his biography. It was cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting. That's about it.
And he ended up taking me to, where was it? It was a communist country at the time.
Wow.
I can't remember.
Who knows?
Anyway, I played that festival there with him and did some other stuff. And who else was on that show? Sister Sledge, Simon Le Bon.
Sure.
Steve Winwood. I got to play Give Me Some Lovin' with Steve Winwood.
Hey.
In the key of F sharp for all of you out there listening.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't bring it down a whole step. He brought it a half, and that F sharp is terrible on that
Is
organ.
it?
I
Yeah.
think it is.
Yeah, yeah.
He sounded great on it.
Yeah, right. Sure. Wow.
Anyway, so that was that, and then the next thing, then of course Bernard died while we were over there.
Wow.
So I thought, okay, great. I finally meet Niall.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the end of Chic. But he decided the Blue Notes over there got a hold of him, and they asked, "Can you get another, put a Chic together and do a tour?" So we did like a month and a half over in Japan the next year, which was brutal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean there was some fun to it, but it was the Blue Notes are all 2 shows a night.
Oh, wow.
With a long break in between. You eat and the food is good, but it's like it's a long. We played the Blue Notes a lot.
Who's on drums?
At the time, it was Omar Hakim.
Wow. Imagine that.
Yeah, I left him out. Yeah, that's how
Yeah,
great this was. Omar was the drummer on the thing with Bernard and everybody, and then played with us for the first 10 years. Omar was the drummer.
Wow.
And Jerry Barnes, a great bass player, took as well as you could take over for Bernard Edwards.
Yeah, right.
He did
Sure,
it.
Sure.
He's still there.
Wow.
He's still doing it.
Wow.
I did it for like 23 years, something like that. Yeah.
Imagine that.
Traveled the world too many times.
Wow. I didn't realize you were.
Yeah.
Did it that long?
Because for a lot of it, it wasn't full time. It wasn't like we were touring 7 months a year.
Sure, sure.
The first 10 years, some of the years, we only played 15 gigs maybe, and then maybe went to the Blue Note for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But then later it started he got really popular. We got popular in Europe doing all the festivals. And by the end, I wasn't doing all the gigs. I had some subs because I couldn't be gone all summer. I had kids and I just didn't want to be. I'd seen all these places and done all of it. And
imagine that.
Yeah. So
you're like, Slash, whatever.
Yeah, right. Well, Slash
this
was
again.
Cool. Slash was cool. And it was cool. I forgot where I was going.
Yeah, I remember you were. We did a gig, and you were telling me you're like, I think I'm going to leave Chic. You were telling me.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, what happened there really was I had been, for lack of a better word, kind of cherry picking the gigs. Like, okay, I can do these 3 weeks, then I'll send this guy. I don't want to go there. I'll send him.
Yeah.
And it was okay with Niall. He loved having me there when I was there.
Yeah.
But he got a new manager.
Uh-huh.
And this guy kind of came in and said, I want the same guys all the time.
Oh, I remember, yeah.
And it was all or nothing at all, and I chose nothing at all. And I wasn't upset by that choice.
Okay, good. That was
I had it, I did it for a long time.
Yeah.
There's only so many times you can go bump, like freak out.
Right,
It's like how many times can you do that?
Yeah. So you feel like you did it.
Yeah, I did it a lot.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
and then
whatever else happened after. Of course, I'm the new Springsteen record's out that I'm on.
Hey, how about that?
Yeah.
How about that, kids?
Every cut.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what is it?
It's a record of soul coverage. It's called Only the Strong Survive.
Hey.
It just came out like a week ago.
Wow.
2 weeks ago.
Hey.
And
what was that like?
Oh, it was great.
Cool. Was it cool?
I went to his house and
wow.
Hung out. We played billiards. No, we didn't. We went to the studios like in the barn.
Yeah.
Of course, this barn is surrounded by garages full of every kind of car and motorcycle in mint condition that
I would hope so.
Ever seen, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
But he's super nice, very receptive to ideas. I ended up not doing the arrangements because we were copying pretty much the records.
Yeah, sure.
But the producer would send me MIDI files with too many notes and mistakes. I kind of orchestrated it, so I got to do a lot of
that's cool.
the writing for it. Yeah.
Who else was in the horn section?
Well, Kurt Ram, my dear buddy who got me into this, who traveled the world with Chic with me for so many years, and also was a member of the Cartels when I wasn't around.
Oh yeah.
And then I don't know who else. I know who else was there. Was Barry Danielian played second trumpet. Clark Gayton played trombone. Tom Timko or Eddie Mannion played Barry, and I played tenor.
Did you play live?
Yeah.
Wow, the whole thing.
It's with clam.
Sure,
You stop.
sure,
yes, with all 5 of us at the same time. Yeah.
Wow. Who was on drums? I didn't.
The producer, Ron Anello, he played everything else.
Oh wow.
He played drums, bass, keyboards, everything.
Oh, I got to hear it. Is it cool?
Yeah.
I haven't heard it yet.
Cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's all old soul covers. Some of them you'll recognize, some of them you won't.
Yeah.
Oh. Sam of Sam and Dave sings on a couple of them. And they got, some of the New York finest background guys and gals singing background vocals.
That's cool.
And us, and that's about it, really. I mean, it's not. Yeah. So, I think we did like 5 or 6 sessions for it. And there's talk of another one.
Hey, that's cool.
I mean, even on the record, it says Volume 1. So I'm thinking, maybe Volume 2 would be good.
Yeah, that would be good.
Were
you nervous meeting Bruce, or were you just like, whatever?
No.
I mean, I'm just curious,
I don't, I think it worked out nice because we were, well, first of all, I already had done a couple sessions down there for him before.
Okay.
So if there was any of that, that would have been gone by then.
Yeah, yeah.
Because right away I figured out he was a cool dude, and there was no intimidation factor whatsoever.
Gotcha.
And the stuff we did before didn't see the light of day. He's talked about that. So I had this thing going, and then I thought I scrapped it, and I did this. So then we started doing that other thing. Sometimes he would be there. He wasn't even always there all the time.
Okay.
But then there would be times when if we didn't have a chart, he'd come out and goes, all right, I want you guys to go, bum, 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 or whatever it is, and you'd play it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool. It was like the time that I played on a Paul Simon record, and it was the ill-fated songs from the Cape Man.
Oh yeah, sure. I have that.
But it was cool because I had a trumpet solo on the Paul Simon's Greatest Hits Volume 2 or whatever it is.
Hey man.
But one of the songs was called Bernadette. Now I've always remembered this. He played me the track, but he didn't have a vocal on it. So I'm standing next to Paul in the studio. This is Paul Simon.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's singing me his new song.
Right. So
it's not even on tape, just live. Of course, he's big, and so you're kind of like leaning down like this, and he's going da-da-da-da, and he's singing. I'm like, geez,
it sounds just like Paul Simon.
Yeah, it's like, geez, Paul Simon is singing me his new song. Wow. So that was kind of fun.
That's cool. That's cool.
Of course, he left. He had to go to a Yankee game.
Yeah, right.
He's a big Yankees fan. He's like, okay, we're done for today. I'm going to the Yankees game. Okay, come back tomorrow. Oh, okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Wow.
What's next? Just more of the same. We don't know.
I don't know.
Nobody knows.
I'm sort of. I anticipated you might ask me this, and because it's a logical question. I think more of the same is probably a good answer, except less of the same.
Less of the same.
I'm getting ready to not wind down or stop, but I'll be 67 in July.
Yeah,
and collect some Social Security maybe, and just chill. Maybe not take quite as many. It's very hard, and I'm sure you know this.
Yeah. After
years and years of being a freelance guy, when someone calls, or now it's text or email, and are you open Thursday the 13th? And you open your book, and yes, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And then I go, why did I take that? It's 2 hours away. It doesn't pay for crap or whatever it is.
Right.
I'm gonna.
We're so used to taking it.
I'm gonna try to figure out how to tame that down a little bit. I'm still gonna do, Cartels, and I'm still gonna do recording and all that kind of stuff. It's just maybe some of the littler gigs that I don't really have to do anymore. I might slow down on. Yeah. Maybe. I say that, and then the next thing is...
because we're just used to filling the calendar.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm open. Yes, great.
Yeah.
There's another day. Another day covered. And then you go... I remember this very distinctly last year. I went from June to July, and I still old-fashioned. I have a calendar book. And I turned the page, and I went... What in the hell did I do here?
Yeah, right.
So this was like
how am I gonna do all
8,000 gigs. There were like 3 days off in the whole month. I'm like, what did I do? Well, I'm 65. I'm playing like I'm 25.
Yeah, I know.
But I got through it, and it was kind of okay.
Yeah, you got to break the momentum.
Yeah.
I can remember thinking. I mean, I don't know if this is any of my business or what the answer was, but I guess you're telling me the answer now. But there was a time I was playing with you at Bill's Seafood, like every Wednesday or whatever it was, right?
Yep,
it was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
I used to enjoy that gig.
I did too.
But I would be like, so Bill, you would come flying in from playing with Chic somewhere and do Bill's Seafood, and I would think to myself, and maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I'd be like, if I was playing Chic, I wouldn't be here, but is it for the love of playing, or it's just you in your mind?
It's a number.
You're just trying to fill your calendar.
Well, there's a little of that. Some of it is certainly
not that that's not a fun. I mean,
I loved that gig. That was a blast.
Yeah,
playing with Catherine and the gang.
I mean, it's easy.
But part of it lies in what I told you before about how many times you can go bump bump.
Yeah,
this was a chance to play.
I see.
And something that I liked. It was close to home.
Right. So it balances it out.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that more than Chic by the time I got there. Not the early years of Chic, but after 10 years when we were playing the same stuff and
sure,
and you're in the horn section.
No one wants to hear a new Chic song either.
Not
unfortunately.
Really. Yeah, I mean, he started breaking out stuff from his other catalogs, and we did that. But in the end, you still got to play Good Times and Le Freak.
Sure.
And whereas Jerry and Niall and the drummer are jamming away, I have to play the exact same thing every.
You didn't have any solos?
One.
Yeah.
So the rest of the time,
Did you go out and grab people's beers? when you
No.
were playing the one solo.
it wasn't long enough. I could have never got out there.
Right. Well, that's it. That's an answer.
Yeah, so I mean that's part of
Yeah.
it. It was partly that I was going to go somewhere. With
We're going to go long a little bit. Are we cool? We're going to go a little bit long. We're coming up on an hour, but I want to go longer. Yeah. Are you okay with that?
yeah.
You're not going to run out? Okay. Sorry. Just checking. I don't want you to get to, and just then.
Yeah, just then it all hit me at once.
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
It struck.
Yeah.
I said, "What am I doing?"
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
No, I think that was part of it, and yeah, part of it. I just kind of I liked the gig, but I did a lot of stuff like that. I mean, I would come home from a 2 weeks tour, and at the time I was playing in a different wedding band down in Fairfield County. Of course, down there they call wedding bands club date bands.
Okay.
I fought that for a long time, but you can't. Everybody in
right.
Greater New York calls functions club dates.
Gotcha.
So I was playing in a club date band, and more than once on the way home from France or somewhere, I knew the band was doing a wedding, and it was on my way home. So I would say, well, why wouldn't I just go do that? So I would.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Rather than just come home and decompress.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I just and that wasn't really for the fun of it. That was more about the money and why would I drive by my band playing when I could make it?
Wow. Wow. Yeah. That's
Sometimes I left weddings and went, more than once I left a gig and went to JFK,
wow.
to get on an airplane.
Crazy.
Yeah. Like a lot of times, actually, now that I think of it.
Wow.
I mean, one thing or
So
another.
you just don't want to leave that money sitting there.
That's part of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that comes from, it comes from a lot of stuff. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, we were pretty poor when I was a kid, and sometimes that sticks with you.
So if there's work, you're just going to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I've always been.
Yeah. No, I know the feeling.
And luckily, some of it pays better than others, as you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you think about doing the proverbial $100 gig, and which is now, 85, depending on where you're driving to.
Yeah. You're better off staying home.
Yeah, you're kind of going, this doesn't make any sense, and yet I continue to do them. But then when you sort of go, well, like both my kids are in college right now, and you go, the price of college is this. Well, it's about a $300 gig.
Yeah.
It's like,
I know.
It's crazy.
Well, I actually don't because I don't have kids, but I can imagine.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that way.
Well,
but
yeah. Well,
I was sad one more thing about that, but I forgot now what it was.
I can't help you.
No, I can't help me either at this point. Ask me something else.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? The wrap up questions. I have a new one too.
Ooh, so we have a.
Yeah, kind of.
Where's your sound effect thing? Where's it going to set up a drum roll?
Oh yeah. All right. Oh, I don't know if I have a drum roll.
A drummer who doesn't have a drum roll.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. See, I got lost already. I don't know how to get back to the thing.
All right. Well.
All right. Well, see, I can't. This is a tough question because you'd be like, "What instrument are you?" No, I think I know that you're not a consistent practicer of your instrument because you said that before.
Not anymore. I was for many years.
Yeah.
Now the brass instruments, you have to practice some. You have to keep up on them.
You do?
With the saxophone, most of the time at home, I'm just looking for good reads. I'm not trying to learn jazz patterns anymore. That kind of stuff. It's like. So if I'm playing at home and I'm not recording, I'm looking for reads.
Gotcha.
With the trumpet and the bone, you got to keep the chops up in a different way. So you have to play.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, that could be 10, 15 minutes. It's not going to be 2 hours.
Yeah, I got you. That's cool. Desert Island albums, like a handful of albums that you would bring with you forever. Are you a big listener?
No, not anymore.
Okay.
That's a good question.
I mean, that could sum up who you are to us.
Well, let me do it a different way.
Sure.
I'll try to do my most influential.
Yeah, sure.
Chicago is number one. I was a rock and roll guy, raised on the Beatles, but a horn player too.
Right.
When we moved, a bunch of times I got turned off to a lot of stuff because I had some bad moves. And when I heard, does anybody know what time it is on the car radio? I still remember exactly where I was. I went, holy, you know what?
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they're saying it.
And that got me right back into it.
Hey, that's cool.
Totally. As I told you, I like the Guess Who a lot. I wouldn't call them an influence, but I did like them a lot of the time. So any of the early Chicago albums is up. And Blood, Sweat, and Tears following that, but they're a little jazzier. Chicago was right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I had bands in high school that's like all we played.
Yeah.
Maybe Vehicle.
So like rock with horns.
Yeah. The Beatles, of course.
Sure.
But more for me, the Beach Boys. Brian Wilson remains one of my musical heroes for sure.
Yeah, me too.
I would also, I would have a Four Freshmen and a High-Lows record with me for sure. Our vocal groups are a big part of my thing, which was what we built the Cartels around.
Yeah.
Not as good as those guys, but those guys didn't play like we did.
Yeah. So Karen, she's into Beach Boys too.
Yeah.
You guys together?
Yeah.
At the same time, differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And cool. So then, okay, who else would I put on there? Glenn Miller.
Wow.
Love the old big band, 40s big band stuff, especially again with the vocal groups and the whole thing. I can still listen to 40s music. But I'll tell you, when I do listen on XM, if it's not talk, which is mostly what I'm a huge sports fan. I listen to sports, almost any sport on the radio. I just like it. I listen to 40s and 50s and 60s channels.
Hey, that's cool.
70s occasionally.
Yeah.
By the time you get to the 70s, I played all those songs.
Yeah, right.
When they were out.
Sure. Yeah.
Because before I joined the Be Willie band, I was always playing top 40,
Yep.
Then all of a sudden I'm in 3 different bands for a decade.
Yeah.
Over a decade where we don't play anything past 1975.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah.
It's very funny in that way. And yet I was still writing the songs that I was writing, which may or may not have been any good, were kind of 80s pop, like, Gino Vanelli.
Yeah.
And I guess that'd be another one. Steely Dan, of course, is a cliched one, but how can you not almost, if you're a musician, there's something there that you're going to grab onto, even if it's not them, if it's just the playing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, Pete Christelieb, who was the great tenor player on Deacon Blues, who was on the Tonight Show for many years, is one of my favorite tenor players. I got to meet him out in L.A.
Nice.
And so there's some of that, for a long, in college and a little after, I was certainly much more a jazz head than I am now.
Okay.
It's like I said to Joe the other night. I asked him about somebody, I forget what, was a piano player. I said, I'm so removed from the jazz world. Is this guy still popular? Whoever it was. I can't even remember. Huh. Who else was
So you don't aspire to be a jazz player per se?
No. I mean, you can't make any money doing that.
Yeah, right.
I know it's again, a cliched answer, but it's kind of true. I mean, I played some jazz.
Yeah.
Years ago, we had Joe and I and a couple other guys had every Wednesday night at the 880 Club we used to play. But it was really, funky. It was mostly my music that was kind of, I don't want to say fusion because it wasn't that smooth, but it was not ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, sure.
It wasn't. Yeah. But Coltrane was a big influence, certainly earlier on.
Wow.
Michael Brecker, the Brecker Brothers.
Sure.
The band Dreams that they were in that Will was in, that was a big influence on me. Crosby, Stills and Nash. Again, a lot of vocal stuff. That was my thing.
Wow. Interesting.
Almost more than the instruments were the sounds of vocals.
Yeah. Hey, that's cool. So different. That's what makes you.
Yeah.
Not typical.
I mean, we always did, even in high school, I almost crashed my car one time because Gary was singing the wrong note on Barbara Ann, the Beach Boys version, and I turned around. I was driving, and I turned around to correct him. And the car stopped in front of us. I mean, I was this close to hitting the other car because I'm like, Gary, it's da-da-da.
Yeah.
So we sang Beach Boys stuff even in high school and in Crosby, Stills, Nash, as I had mentioned. So I was always into,
cool.
And I sang in choirs and stuff. And in college, I sang in the 9th Street Baptist Church Choir in downtown Cincinnati. I got paid $4 a time, whether it was a rehearsal or a service.
Wow, just to be there.
$4 to lead the tenor section. And then what I would do is I would wait till it added up to like 80 or something, then I'd have them give me a check.
Oh, man.
And then what we would do, we went and bought beer and bought with it, of course.
Whoa, how dare you.
Baptist church.
Crazy. That's crazy.
But, yeah.
Desert island food.
Well.
That you could eat every day. I just got something in my eye.
Chinese.
Yeah, why not?
Good pizza.
Yeah.
Those are the two things I eat too much of when it's in front of me.
Yeah. I hear
Being a Cincinnati guy originally, I love Cincinnati chili, which most people don't get.
No, I don't know what that. What's the deal with that?
It's hard to explain.
Okay.
Very hard. It's not
chili's
like
a weird thing.
It's not chili like you think of. It's
I'll have to look it up.
Sauce. Yeah. Look up Skyline chili, you'll see.
Okay. I'll check it out. Can you get it here? Is there anyone around here?
Only on the internet.
Okay, so there's no one around here that they
don't even try.
All right.
It's a very localized.
Wow.
Cincinnati, Ohio. There's like a few of them in Cleveland and stuff, but it's really It's a kind of I don't want to say an acquired taste, but a lot of people around here don't like it if they.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, chili's weird. Chili's like it's like a thing. Chili is an open-ended. Everybody has their own version.
Yeah, this is almost more like turtle soup, mock turtle soup. Kind of. It's hard to describe. It really is. It's
have to get into it. How are we doing? Yeah, we're getting there. Okay.
All right. Those are some of them anyway.
All right.
I love steak too, or good meat, or barbecue.
How long we got? 4 minutes. Okay. Show that blew your mind.
Star Trek.
A music concert performance that you attended that blew your mind.
The first time I saw Chicago at the Yale Bowl.
Okay. Favorite movie? New one.
Animal House.
Wow. Hey. Wow. You never made to fraternity. That's what happened.
So I had to vicariously live through them.
Wow, that's cool.
I mean, there's some. That's
I know.
That's what came to mind.
I'm just trying to,
you're peppering me, so I'm going to try to pepper back.
Yeah, just to sum up, I guess this is like the Colbert. He's kind of. I realize he does the same kind of thing.
Does he?
Yeah, there's questions that you can just kind of get at it. I guess that's kind of what I'm doing. I didn't realize it. All right, you know what? I want to go because I don't want to run out because that would not be good.
Okay.
Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
You were, you know what I mean. I tried to get you early. It happens when it happens.
Yeah, I guess as I said, I forgot, but I'm glad to do it. It was fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, get your story out there. Yeah. Bill Holloman. I'm sure we'll do something again.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I know we will.
Yeah, we will. And you can come back here anytime.
Great.
If you can think of anything.
There's much more.
Yeah, there'll be round two. We'll think about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it can happen again.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to press the button. You ready? John Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut. Come over the bridge, go through one set of lights, start looking left. Like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. Anybody wants to come on here with me, you're more than welcome. We were here with Bill Holloman today. He plays everything, an everything player, everything. He's on Springsteen's new album. Check it out. What's the album called?
Only the Strong Survive.
Only the Strong Survive.
If enough of you buy it, I could actually see me $2, $3, $4 in the mail.
Hey, all right, Bill Holloman. Thank you.
My pleasure.
That is all.
If you'd like to start your own podcast, give us a call at Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance. Our professionally designed podcast space is here for all your recording needs. Rent out our studio to do interviews with up to 4 people, to record audiobooks, social media content, and all other recorded material. Our rentals include a private studio along with our professional-grade podcasting equipment, and we can customize your output to whatever your needs are. We also have green screen capabilities, which will expand to video capability if you so wish. So check us out here at convalley.net/podcast.